Hey everyone, and welcome to your deep dive. This one is going to be all about faith and resilience. You sent us this talk, Firm and Steadfast in the Faith of Christ, by Elder D. Todd Christofferson. Now, before you think, oh no, not a religious deep dive, I promise you this is going to apply no matter what you believe or don't believe. We're going to be talking about strengthening any core belief you have and how to face challenges and find that unshakable inner compass we all need. I gotta say, this talk is full of vivid imagery, stories of real people struggling, even some ancient drama.
Well, it really is amazing how he takes these powerful historical parallels and personal stories and uses them to illustrate principles that anyone can apply
Oh,
to their own life.
what a name.
Yeah, exactly. And it grabbed my attention right from the start. He opens by talking about this epic showdown on Mount Carmel. It's like ancient reality TV, but with a way higher stakes, the prophet Elijah versus the priests of Baal.
Oh, yeah.
And the special effects budget for this story would be insane. I mean, we're talking fire from heaven. The story of Elijah is so powerful because it's symbolic of this universal struggle. Choosing between two opposing forces or ideas. In Elijah's case, it was choosing the one true God over the false god Baal. But, just think about your own life for a second. Have you ever felt torn between two choices, unsure which path to take?
Yeah, all the time. So back to this epic showdown. Elijah basically throws down a challenge and says, okay, let's see whose God is the real deal. May the best deity win.
Right. And the priests of Baal are like going all out. They're dancing, chanting. They even start hurting themselves. But nothing happens, just crickets.
And then Elijah steps up, and just to raise the stakes even higher, he soaks his altar with water and calls upon God. And boom, fire rains down from the sky and consumes the offering.
It's such a dramatic moment.
I know.
And the core message really resonates with the idea of just making a firm decision about what you believe, whatever those beliefs are. Elijah was urging the people to stop being wishy-washy and just fully commit to what they felt was true.
Yeah. It's like that feeling when you finally make a decision after you've been agonizing over it forever, and you're finally like, okay, I'm all in. But here's where it gets really interesting to me. Elder Christofferson then connects this ancient story to our modern world.
Yes, and that's what's so fascinating about this talk. He takes this ancient story and makes it so relevant to our lives today. Because in a way, we're all constantly facing our own Mount Carmel moment.
Oh, totally. We are bombarded with information and different opinions coming from everywhere. It's like a never-ending buffet of ideas and beliefs. And it's so easy to feel overwhelmed and unsure what to eat, so to speak.
Exactly, and that's where the danger of halting between two opinions comes in. Like if we're constantly second-guessing ourselves, we become paralyzed by indecision and never really fully commit to anything.
So how do we navigate this modern-day Mount Carmel? How do we find that inner compass that keeps us steady amidst all the noise and all the different opinions?
Well, Elder Christofferson gives us 4 powerful questions. It's almost like a direct challenge from Elijah himself. He's basically asking, are you willing to choose? Are you willing to stand firm in what you believe?
I really liked these questions because they're so direct and thought-provoking. It's not about blindly accepting someone else's beliefs. It's about looking at your own and figuring out what truly resonates with you.
Yes, and I think that's a key point. It's not about adopting a specific set of beliefs. It's about cultivating that inner conviction, that sense of knowing what's right for you, even when the world is throwing 1,000 different options at you.
Exactly. So what happens if we don't rise to the challenge? What are the risks of staying stuck in that state of indecision?
Elder Christofferson uses this really powerful image to describe what happens when we don't have that firm foundation. He compares it to a wave of the sea driven by the wind. It's a vivid analogy.
It is, isn't it? Tossed back and forth, never really finding solid ground.
You can almost feel that instability. And then he contrasts that with the example of Jesus Christ, whose faith was totally unwavering, always in line with his Father's will.
Yeah, he wasn't swayed by popular opinion or fleeting trends or anything like that.
It's interesting how he presents Jesus as like the ultimate example of someone who was just grounded in his beliefs no matter what was going on around him. It really makes you think about like what qualities do those steadfast people have?
Yeah. And he pulls out these vivid descriptions from the scriptures. He talks about people who are firm, immovable, with their minds fixed on God. I don't know about you, but I can practically picture those people like standing strong, like a mighty oak in a storm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think the takeaway here is that you got to let your core beliefs, your guiding principles, become the defining force in your life. Not just something you think about on Sundays or in times of crisis, but something that really shapes your actions and your choices every single day.
It's not about just going through the motions. It's about internalizing those values and letting them guide you, right? And I appreciate how he acknowledges that we're all at different stages in this journey. He talks about a continuum of belief. And it's not about judging where someone is on that spectrum, but encouraging everyone to keep striving for that deeper connection.
Exactly. Think of it like learning a new skill, like playing an instrument or speaking a new language. We all start at different levels, but with consistent effort and practice, we can all improve and grow.
That's a great analogy. This brings up a big question for me, though. How do we actually strengthen our faith or our belief system, especially when life throws those inevitable curveballs our way? Because let's face it, things don't always go smoothly.
Yeah, well, he doesn't sugarcoat things. He acknowledges that trials are just part of life. He even calls them the refining fire of affliction. I think that's a really powerful concept, the idea that challenges can actually refine us and make us stronger.
It's like that saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. But with a more nuanced perspective, it's not just about surviving adversity, but about allowing it to shape us, to mold us into something more resilient.
Right. And to illustrate this point, he shares these three incredibly powerful stories of real people facing immense challenges. These stories really stuck with me because they're so raw and honest.
Me too. They're not these like idealized fairy tale versions of overcoming adversity. These are real people dealing with real pain and hardship. He talks about a woman battling a chronic illness, a man struggling with doubts and skepticism, and a couple coping with the unimaginable pain of a critically injured child.
What I find so inspiring is that each of these individuals, despite their incredibly difficult circumstances, find strength and meaning through their faith. They don't deny the pain or pretend everything is okay, but their beliefs give them this source of hope and resilience that helps them navigate through the darkness.
It really highlights how faith, or any deeply held belief, can serve as an anchor in the midst of a storm, and it reminds me of a quote he shared about how temptation and tribulation can actually lead to conversion and healing.
Yes. That quote comes from a revelation to Thomas B. Marsh, who was an early church leader. And it's such a profound concept, this idea that our challenges, as painful as they are, can be opportunities for growth. They can actually draw us closer to our beliefs and help us develop a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world.
It's like those moments when you look back on a difficult experience and you realize how much you learned from it, how it shaped you into the person you are today. It's not that you're grateful for the pain, but you can recognize the growth that came from it.
Exactly. But there's a crucial distinction here. It's not about glorifying suffering or saying that challenges are inherently good. It's about recognizing that we have a choice in how we respond to them. We can let them harden our hearts and make us bitter, or we can choose to learn from them and allow them to refine us.
And I think it's important to point out that healing in this context doesn't just refer to physical healing, but also to spiritual and emotional healing. It's about finding that wholeness and inner peace, even when external circumstances are difficult.
Absolutely. And I love how Elder Christofferson gives us some really practical advice on how to cultivate that kind of unwavering faith. He uses this analogy that's surprisingly relatable. It really resonated with me.
Oh, I know what you're going to say. The eating your vegetables analogy. It's so simple, yet so effective.
Right. He compares nurturing our faith to eating our vegetables. Just like our physical bodies need healthy food to thrive, our spirits need regular nourishment to grow strong.
It's so true. We wouldn't expect to be physically healthy if we only ate junk food. So why would we expect to be spiritually healthy if we're not feeding our souls with the things that nourish them?
Exactly. And he goes on to list those spiritual vegetables. You know, the practices that can help us strengthen our faith, like prayer, studying scriptures, serving others, connecting with like-minded individuals. These are the things that provide us with spiritual sustenance and help us build that inner resilience.
I love how he frames it as a spiritual diet. It makes you think about what you're consuming on a daily basis. Are you filling your mind and heart with things that uplift and inspire you? Or are you letting negativity and doubt take root?
Yeah, and just like a healthy diet can prevent disease and boost our energy levels, engaging in these spiritual practices can protect us from negativity, provide comfort during tough times, and give us a sense of purpose.
It's all about building that inner strength, that unshakable core that allows us to face whatever life throws our way, with courage and conviction.
And that's something we can all benefit from, regardless of our background or beliefs.
So to wrap things up, Elder Christofferson leaves us with this question that really got me thinking.
Oh yeah, what vegetables are you missing in your spiritual diet? Such a clever way to sum everything up.
Yeah, I thought so too. He's basically saying, okay, so we've talked about how important it is to nurture our faith, But what does that actually look like for you in your everyday life?
Exactly. He's challenging us to take an honest look at our own spiritual practices and see where we might be falling short.
Right, like maybe you're great at prayer, but you struggle with service. Or you devour scriptures, but you never really stop and reflect on them personally. We all have our strengths and weaknesses, you know?
Absolutely. The point is to be honest with ourselves and identify those areas where we could make small changes. That will have a big impact in the long run.
And he doesn't just leave us with this thought-provoking question. He takes it a step further and challenges us to actually pick one small change we can make today to cultivate greater resilience and purpose in our lives.
It's a good reminder that even the smallest actions can make a big difference over time, if you're consistent.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into faith and resilience, I want to leave you with this thought.
Yeah, what resonated with you the most from Elder Christofferson's message? And what's one spiritual vegetable you're going to commit to adding to your diet this week?
Remember this journey of strengthening your beliefs, your values, your core principles. It's personal. There's no right or wrong way to do it.
The important thing is to just keep moving forward. Keep seeking, keep nurturing that connection to something bigger than yourself, whether that's a higher power or a set of guiding principles or just a deep sense of purpose.
And remember, even when things are tough, there's always hope. There's always strength to be found. And there's always a path toward greater resilience and a life filled with meaning.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time for another fascinating exploration.